Hello gamers and fellow budding game designers. Dominic here for the first episode of the new fortnightly series I'm putting together. It's called Designer's Playbook, and I'll be looking at game design on a game-by-game basis. I'm doing this because I'm currently studying game design at university, and I'm trying to understand on a deeper level what makes games so damn good or so darn bad. I know making games is a dream job for a lot of us, so with that in mind, I want to know your feedback and design theories in the comments section below, so we can all refine our design abilities to make the next awesome generation of games. In this episode, I'll be looking at LA Noire, a rare type of game I believe designed with the mature gamer demographic in mind. I'd like to start with the menu screens for LA Noire because it's the first place we all start. It has been designed to immediately begin pulling you into the 1940s era in which the game is set. There is a clear throwback to the film style that the game was inspired by. You can see similar emphasis on shadows and the strong contrast in colors. This clever bit of game design already begins to immerse you in the game from the moment you put the disc in. Immersion matters because that's what will keep you playing until the early hours of the morning. Psychologists have done a lot of research into how immersion is created within our minds. A model by Worth and his colleagues gives some insight into how it works. What they call spatial presence, we call immersion. According to the model, immersion happens in two stages. Stage 1, we build the game world in our minds based on what we see and hear. Then at stage 2, we decide whether or not that world is real based on what we've experienced. Think of stage 2 like the act of suspending disbelief, but it won't work if something damages the world you've imagined. Like, for example, a car in the background of the scene with Luke Skywalker in his land speeder. If you've made your game world consistent, your player should become immersed. So from the title screen, LA Noire is trying to immerse you, but why even bother making a 1940s detective game? And how did the developer even know there would be a market for it? The answer takes a little bit of market research into demographics. The average gamer is now 37 years old, and it doesn't take Gordon Freeman to realize that as we get older, our taste in entertainment usually changes. So it makes sense that LA Noire is going for this audience, but there is also more reasons why it makes sense to design a game around police work. A lot of us have a fascination with our own mortality, and if you don't believe me, just take a look at some of television's most popular TV shows for more than the last decade. CSI and Law & Order have been so popular they've been able to create spin-offs just to cater for our interest. Speaking of crime shows, that provides me an excellent segue into the structure, also known as typology, for LA Noire. You may have noticed that to a certain extent, LA Noire has copied the tried and tested structure of shows like CSI. Here's an example of the start of a case of LA Noire and the start of an episode for CSI. Both start with a short clip of the crime taking place, then we spend most of the time piecing together how it happened. Now let's take a look at the structure for most of the cases in the game. We have a clip of the crime at the beginning, then you either talk to a witness or collect clues. Then to keep things interesting, it converges to a point of excitement like a car chase, a fight scene, or a shootout. Then comes another round of either finding more clues or talking to witnesses, at which point the case comes to its conclusion, usually in either an interrogation or a shootout. Designing the structure in a game and being able to convey that to the rest of the team is a major skill for any game designer. If I were to ask you to make a level with this template in front of you, I'm guessing it would make your job a lot easier, unlike saying, hey, can you please make me 21 case levels, okay thanks, bye. Now compare that to, I need 21 cases that start with an opening scene, then either evidence finding or witness interviewing, followed by an action point leading to more case building, then a conclusion. I'm guessing your team would find that a lot easier to follow. On top of each case, LA Noire also weaves a story throughout the game to give it a sense of continuity. You play as Detective Cole Phelps in his journey to progress through the ranks of the LAPD. There are 5 police desks, and each desk has its own style of cases, which move you through the story arc. So here is an interesting design element I've noticed. The patrol desk is where the player starts, and it plays like the tutorial for the game. It's a perfect example of the acquire, test, and master model. For example, let's look at the very first case of the game. You start in a car needing to drive a short distance to the crime scene. There is no time limit, and that allows you to acquire, test, and then begin to master your driving ability with no distractions. The alleyway crime scene is the perfect place to learn another game mechanic, movement control, because there is only one direction to go. As you move down the alleyway, you begin to come across simple clues and experiment how to interact with them. The patrol desk keeps following this model for each subsequent case until you have acquired, tested, and mastered all the fundamental game mechanics you'll need for the rest of the game. What makes the patrol desk even more beautifully designed is that it moves you through each case quickly. This is done to flatter you into thinking you're making progress quickly. It gives you an early sense of achievement, which is important that you feel because it entices you to come back for more. RPGs are a perfect example of this. Think of the last time you played World of Warcraft or Dragon Age. When you start, you level up very quickly, and soon a small part of you has gotten used to that feeling of success when you achieve a new level. LA Noire shows its design for a mature audience also in its character design. Cole Phelps is a very different character from those often found in some of gaming's biggest franchises. He's just an ordinary guy dealing with his problems from his time in the war. No power armor, no gigantic muscles, no military tech. This is a guy just using his brain and his motivation to prove himself as a new police officer. What makes Phelps an even better designed character is seeing his flaws as the game progresses. Most of the time, Phelps is portrayed as a man of the law, focused on solving his case. However, you also see other parts of his character that give him depth. Personality traits, such as that he doesn't discriminate between race or religion.
I'm charging you with the first-degree murder of Everett Gage. I respect your beliefs and your right to hold them. I hope for your sake the jury can commute to murder in the second degree. May God have mercy on you, sir.
But that he does have his own biases towards former fellow Marines.
Catch. The Scania sails from New York, Hammond. Be on the next train and don't ever come back.
Why?
Because I was a Marine and I once lacked courage. Everyone deserves a second chance. Now beat it.
Someone I'd like you to meet. Cole Phelps, war hero and crime fighter extraordinaire.
And why would I want to meet another fascist from the LAPD?
Sorry about this, Cole. What an evening I'm having. First a Negro puts his hands on me, and then this. Who do you think you're talking to, you German junkie
And a weakness
whore?
to reprimand fellow officers.
Don't you ever forget your
all
place with
combined
me
to
again.
provide insight
Do you
that
hear
make
me?
Cole Phelps a much more believable character. I've looked at some of the larger game design decisions of LA Noire, but there are also some of the small game mechanics, both good and bad, that I believe are worth mentioning. The use of the leveling system gives you an incentive and a reward for doing well in an interrogation or completing a side mission. What makes the leveling system even better is that you're rewarded with the useful intuition points, which work similar to lifelines in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. This is positive reinforcement at work, and it's a tool commonly used within games. The game also taps into our endless drive to collect items. The simple addition of the on-screen counter of how many cars you've driven makes looking out for new models a game in itself. Though there are a lot of things I felt LA Noire did right, there are a few design choices that I felt could have been better made. Firstly, the shooting mechanic is simplistic. With no recoil or significant difference in damage dealt, you can easily complete the game with your starting pistol. While this doesn't make the game any less fun, it does do a lot to undermine the microtransactions offered in-game to buy better suits to upgrade your shooting ability. A bigger design issue, though, was that during interviews there is no way to know what Phelps would say when you chose truth, doubt, or lie. The problem I found was occasionally Phelps would act in an unexpected way compared to what I thought he would do. For example, accusing someone of murder just because I asked about a shoe. The real issue is that this causes a fracture in immersion because Phelps is the representation of you in-game. Phelps acting contrary to how you had expected him to damages your perception that you embody his character. Overall, I still think LA Noire is a well-designed game with the mature gamer demographic in mind. Remember, throw your own game design theories in the comments section below because I want to hear what you have to say, and I'll try and include the best ones in future episode. I'm Dominic, thanks for watching Designer's Playbook, and I'll see all you gamers and budding game designers in a fortnight. Cheers.